Hello everyone, it's Open House Thursday on Your View. Welcome to the show. I am Mariah Afolabi Brown as always. I never do this alone. Hello, YK.
Hello, Mariah.
Looking nice and bright.
Thank you very much.
Orangey.
How you doing? And you already told us this week is an orange week.
It's orange, so I don't have to change my polish.
How you doing, YK?
I'm fine. I'm fine. You know, I heard something yesterday or day before. There's this lady, she had been doing her 3-month lockdown.
Okay.
It's a friend of my partner's brother. And she had done her lockdown for 3 months, and then she went to greet somebody who had died. She went to greet the family. She died 7 days later. She caught COVID-19.
Serious?
100% serious.
How come hers was so quick, 7 days after?
I now got a text. I forwarded it to our group saying that there is a new strain in Nigeria, and that one is very strong, kills you fast.
Are you sure about this?
I say, I got the text. I don't know whether it is true, but I've been reading it. I even listened to the news today on the radio, and it was saying there's a new strain, and it's a very strong strain. Maybe we have been actually we have got Ajesara on the other one, so they've brought another one to come and finish us. I don't.
I saw YK. I couldn't hug. I've not seen YK since our birthday, and I was like, oh, I would have loved to hug you, but I hug you from afar.
Honestly, I don't know. Now I'm getting a bit more scared.
I'm very scared. Because
7 days.
Theo's brother called him yesterday. Was it yesterday?
You need to be more careful.
Come on, don't go out, oh. Now this is, and when he named the person, I knew the person.
Oh
I was like,
God.
oh. She went to go and greet them. She died within 7 days. And that text I sent to you, her name was in it.
Oh my Lord.
The woman's name was in that text I sent to you.
Confirmed.
Okay, so COVID obviously is real, and
not only is it real, it's rampant. So we better take time.
This one that they have eased lockdown.
Okay, if they've eased lockdown, they've eased the lockdown, you can't blame them because people have to eat.
Yes, the economy has to be.
This is not America where when 40 million people say they are jobless, they will give them
welfare.
Nobody's giving you anything here. So we now have to take conscious effort and control of our lives by ensuring we are safe.
I also know a driver, I think I mentioned this already, he died, I think within 10 days. He infected his boss who was 91, his boss' wife was 92. They got infected, but actually they survived it, surprisingly. But their own daughter also caught it, and the daughter's husband also caught it. But the driver who brought it in, he died 10 days after. So it's almost getting closer. We're knowing people that know people.
Yes,
before we didn't know anybody. Now we're now knowing people. It's getting kind of closer.
Definitely. Because I've been preparing for my webinar, I deliberately just blocked out the news. But when we keep mentioning it now, I'm like, okay, because it's just so in your face. There's one way somebody would just send you a WhatsApp, just be careful and all of that. But
another thing, if you hear somebody has died, no matter how close you are to the person, no matter how much you love the person,
don't go
stay away.
Your house. Because you don't know what will kill the person and what condition the person died. Just stay in your house.
Because that's what covered this poor lady.
Very true.
Okay, we have to run.
I'm very good. I'm preparing for 100 people this Saturday that will be hosting on Zoom. It's not a physical meeting.
Fantastic.
100 people on Zoom, and we'll help them up their level of confidence in terms of everything, public speaking, aspiring for a better life. Just the importance of how different ways you can understand why you are not confident, and the tips on how you can become confident will be broken down during that. So we're almost halfway there, so we're looking for 50 more people to join the class, and I'm excited. It's all over social media.
I want to register, honestly. I'm really upset because of my class.
It
conflicts with my class.
I'll send you the replay link.
Okay, I have to go on a break. We'll come back with the papers. Stay with us. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Okay, we're going to start with Punch. Okay, Nation was in front. Let me just start with Nation like that. I'm still beefing them. Okay, the Nation, Edo, Ondo. Violence will stop results declaration, INEC warns. Boko Haram bandits kill 99 in Borno Katsina attacks. Lockdown raised rape cases, says federal government. Tribunal dismisses Melaye's case. Alaafin says no grudge against Makinde. And House raises revised budget by 296 billion. Okay, yeah.
The elections will be taking place September and October in Edo and in Ondo. So while addressing the media concerning a virtual conference, the INEC boss has said that he's taking a tough stance concerning any electoral violence, knowing that it took place during Kogi election and even Bayelsa election, and that they will not be declaring the results if there is any electoral violence within Edo and Ondo State. My worry is, how do we want to conduct this election without infecting more people with COVID-19? I'm waiting to hear what INEC will say on how they want to protect citizens. To allow them
wasn't actually
election.
talking to the media. He was speaking at a Center for Strategic and International Studies event. So it wasn't directly to the media. However, in a related case, lockdown raised rape cases according to the federal government. And Sarah Palin here was trying to push the fact that the federal government must begin to take proper measures in curbing rape. And one of the things they have said, she actually mentioned that during this COVID-19 period, more rapists were exposed to their, more victims were exposed to their rapists, and they were locked out, they couldn't leave. So we have 3 times the cases we usually have, and it has really escalated the number of victims of rape that we have. And they are doing everything to ensure that they pass the law, the bill. It's called the VAPA, I think it's Violence Against Persons Prohibitions Act, which is supposed to protect people, man and woman.
They're also calling for aggressive media campaign and aggressive public enlightenment. We want people to rise up and speak up against abuse of minors and rape cases. We can't abuse of minors. Both of them are horrible, but don't abuse minors.
Exactly. That's even against the Child Rights Act. Moving on now to the Punch. Public hearing, governors, NMA, NLC, others tackle reps over the NCDC bill. Ondo cemetery workers remanded for cutting off corpses' heads. Lagos mechanic burnt in gas explosion. The corpse was actually detained. Obaseki in late night session as APC screens Edo aspirants. Insurgents pretended to be preachers, killed 81 people, survivor tells Zulum. COVID-19 threatening 13 million jobs in Nigeria, says UN. Taraba killings, confessions of killer soldiers, Malami shields from trial. Okay, let's... The
insurgents, let me go with the insurgents first.
Please.
The insurgents, they went to the village and then they pretended to be preachers and they bring all your arms, don't do this, don't do that. As they handed over their arms, they used the arms to kill them. They killed 81 of them. They killed their animals. They killed everybody.
Is it the same one that happened in Mina? Because this one says, okay, I'm not sure, because there was also in 99.
This was in Borno State.
Okay,
this was in Borno State, yes. Gubau local government.
Yes, there was one that happened actually in Niger State, and it was really sad.
Zulum actually went there, and he was really upset, and he's like, the federal government really has to eliminate these people.
Yeah.
Now, what is so keen about this is the fact that the Buratai was at the presidency on Tuesday saying everything is all right, we have killed them, we are doing this, everything is in order, and then there was this attack. So it's as if the Boko Haram just waits for them to say everything is over, then they attack. So now stop saying it's over if it's not over.
Moving on now, let's...
in normal climes, he would have been... They would, yes, no, not to replace. He would have been replaced. He would have been called to the Senate. How can you be giving this kind of...
I was going to take the major headline, which is the other story, the major headline.
Yes,
Go ahead, please.
So the Nigeria Governors Forum, represented by the Ekiti State Governor Femi, spoke up against the new act. Also, the Femi Falana also spoke up against the infectious disease bill, saying it gives too much powers to the president and to the Director General of NCDC. So he also mentioned specifically that the provisions are along the lines of Section 8, the Quarantine Act, should be inserted into the new law to allow state governors the power to declare a place to be an infectious area and make regulations, directives towards preventing further spread of the disease. So the governors are complaining that the power resides with the presidency and NCDC, but states also need to have a right to implement. This is an area that is on ground. We need to cordon off this area. The governors have no rights, don't have enough power given to them to protect their citizens within the new bill.
And apart from that, it's a draconian bill.
I'm just saying what they said.
What? I don't even...
It's a bill that they are claiming was called from Singapore. Singapore is a dictator, a dictatorship.
We've gone past that though. But
no, I'm just saying
what
that it's inside the paper I read it. But
Gbajabiamila, who has also said, the Senate President, actually also mentioned that they are making it look as if this is draconian. But the truth is that if you look at the bill, the objective, what they say is draconian is the fact that I think NCDC can then take on the NCDC can take ownership of certain areas for isolation centers. That can sound as draconian.
But the governors need to be empowered, because right now the NCDC has left this decision of fighting COVID for the governors. But this new bill does not give the governors power to say we want to set up our own state-owned Center for Disease Control. Because right now everything was coming from the federal.
Topic, but the truth is that how many governors have actually worked? Okay, now the Quarantine Act that exists today as of 1926, that the bill that they are using today, how many governors have actually used it appropriately? Only a few handfuls of governors are actually on top of this matter in their states. So you're saying you empower the governor. How many governors?
How many has NCDC?
Sorry?
How many has NCDC that they want to give power? How many? They've done 80,000 tests in a country of 200 million. Come on. Who is working? Nobody is working. From up to down. It's the truth.
No, we're moving.
If you want to talk about the governors, who is working?
Right.
We'll get the little bit.
Is this not what we are saying, that COVID-19 has come with another
strain?
Hey, it's true.
We need to do more.
Moving on to Vanguard, please. Let's move on to Vanguard. Obaseki cries, I can't get justice from screening panel. 125 killed in Boko Haram bandits attacks in Borno and Katsina. What we submitted to U.S. Department that rattled presidency, says IPOB. Rivers to construct fourth flyover in Port Harcourt. Lagos court frees girl, 15, accused of killing dad's friend over rape. I read that story. If we remember, this actually case, I think it was last year, a 15-year-old girl was accused of killing her father's friend who allegedly raped her. I think it was 51-year-old man that allegedly raped her. So the courts have...
Was she detained since then?
She's been detained. Right. So right now the court has she's been released.
Actually, it's supposed to be March. This happened on the 7th of March, 2020. It wasn't last year. And she's been detained since then. And the parents are even thanking the government. If not for them, because the Lagos State, they had a public prosecutor, public defender. They can't afford a lawyer, and she got off.
That's a good one for Lagos State, because Lagos State actually does a whole lot to offer.
Okay, let's pick another story. Sorry? Okay.
I don't know, poor thing, the girl. Poor thing.
I was going to take another story. I can't remember the other one I read there. Moving on to Daily Sun. No results if Ondo polls are disrupted, says INEC. FG declares one rapists move to Domesticate Violence Against Persons Prohibitive Act. Why we are against the infectious disease bill, governors? President's aide, Femi trade wars over performance in Ikiti. IPOB mobilizes headsmen in Southeast. Okay. So
the IPOB movement is mobilizing. The Nnamdi Kanu spoke through his media and publicity secretary, Ima Powerful, has warned against alleged plots to Fulanize and dominate the country. And so he's asking people to come out, roll out vigilantes across the states in the country. We're hearing this, and it's consistently in the Sun newspaper. And I want to hear what the president is saying, what Garba Shehu is going to say on behalf of the president of Femi Adesina. But there must be a presidential statement concerning what is going on in the Southeast. And the people pushing for Fulanis and headsmen to be evicted. There must be a presidential stance concerning this that will show the citizens that they should not arm themselves and go on the streets. I'm expecting that, but this is what IPOB is saying.
Fayemi and Fayemi and Ojudu, they are in a war of words. Ojudu has made very many. He says the government hasn't done anything in the past 2 years. He has not impacted positively on the lives of the people. He say, where are the roads? What are the people? He say, where is the governance? I say I want you to do a search on Google and tell me where the projects are. And Governor Femi's special assistant has answered. He says he's having amnesia. That he doesn't remember anything. And it's because he's a stranger in the land. That's why he doesn't know what is happening. I could have expatiated.
That's the two sides of the story.
I could have expatiated.
That's the two sides of the story. That's the two sides of the story. So the citizens of Ekiti would decide where they stand, if they are seeing the work or they are not.
Unfortunately, we have to wrap up around the time. That's all we can take on Front Page Review. When we come back, we engage Laide's son, who led the Dundalk Black Youth Protest. You know Laide now. Laide is one of the ladies of you. She used to be one of our members of Ladies of Your View. She relocated to Ireland, and her son led a protest. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. So on June 2nd, there was a protest, a peaceful protest actually, mobilized by Black youths in Ireland as they joined the rest of the world in protesting against racism and obviously the treatment of Black people across the world. This was led by our own Laide's son, Kiton. We feel very, very proud. I think we have Laide on the show. Good morning, Laide. Are you there? Or Kiton?
Good morning, Mariah.
Hi. Good to see you guys.
Yo.
Yeah, Laide. You see, when you told me that everybody's been talking to you, you've been speaking to different people, I said, nobody can talk to you like Your View, because this is home.
Like, my people haven't called me. I felt like a bastard that had no parents. Where are my people?
We are your people.
Because the reason why our interview is, Kiton, we'll come to you. No, sorry about that. We have to have this conversation first. But the reason why it was important to talk to you like this, because not just because of what Kiton did, but because we know the story, how it started. We know what you went through in Lagos before you moved to Ireland. We saw Kiton as a practically a little boy. When he was, we're going to show some pictures of him right now. So we know the struggles, and we can almost imagine what you're feeling, that the whole world is focused on Kiton right now because of that bold and brave thing he did. So that's why I said nobody can talk to you like we can.
Nobody can.
Nobody can.
Nobody can, except for Your View.
Yeah, but let me say hello to Kiton. Kiton, how are you?
Good morning, how are you doing?
Good, good. Are you on top of the world right now?
It feels that weird for now.
Listen, enjoy it because you deserve it. Tell us exactly, you're friends with a few others, and all three of you decided to plan this protest. Tell us why.
Essentially, my friend Funto Joy planned the protest because he had seen the turnout in Dublin, and he kind of wanted to get his message out in Dundalk. So we felt that if we needed to, if you want something done right, you have to do it yourself. So if we wanted our message to be sent out to the people in Dundalk, we had to speak up on it because we're actually locals in Dundalk. So it only makes sense for them to actually understand what we say because it's coming from us.
Okay, as a young person and understanding that you could be doing every other thing, like you could be playing games, you could be binge watching, whatever it is, and you decided to do this. What motivated you to do it? Is it like do you have any personal experience? Do you feel, why would you want to support this cause when you're not even in America? So what's the reason?
When you live in a country that isn't it's not predominantly Black, or it's not originally a Black country, there's going to be racism, and it's inevitable. So I've experienced racism growing up, and I've seen firsthand what racism can do to a person. So I had to get my message out there for people to understand this is what happens when people are racist. This is what happens when we can unite. And Dundalk united on the day of the protest, and it showed the power of unity, because for us to get a message out to the rest of the world was truly incredible.
Can you give us one example of how racism has affected you?
I mean, on the football pitch, me, my friend Moyo, and Sean, the two others in the photo, where we always used to play football together, and when we're beating a team or things like that, the opposing team would always use racial slurs against us, and the team that we were on was predominantly black as well. So it'll affect the whole team, and then it'll make us play with anger rather than playing with sportsmanship.
Interesting. So let me come to your mom for a second.
Come to me, Morayo, come to me.
You see, as a mother, raising these kids by yourself, working with them and seeing them grow through this process. Tell me, how has it affected you? The fact that your son wanted to do this protest. Did you encourage him? Were you scared? Was it? Did you feel like, you know what? Don't go and face your own. Go and do your work and leave this matter. It doesn't concern you. Or did you say, please go ahead? Tell us exactly. Tell us how as a mother, what role you played in this whole thing.
Okay, I came back from London successfully after being stuck there for like 2 months due to COVID restrictions. Just 3 days before they wanted to have the protest. So I was just sleeping. I was just enjoying the sleep and wake up whenever you want. When he said he was going out for it, because I know that the racism in Ireland is not as bad as the UK. We all know that, thankfully. I knew that it wouldn't be so scary for them to be out. I was more concerned about the social distancing. And since they had told me that the authorities had cleared them to come out and gather, I was fine, because I know that the brutality is not always as obvious as it happens in America. But one of his friends, Moyo, the second black boy in the picture, actually experienced police brutality just last summer. So, of course, it touched everybody, and that was partly why they said, now, you know, when it feels like it's gotten home, then you feel it differently. Like if they say it happened to somebody so far away. So he went out and came back. He doesn't take pictures like I do. So I was asking him, pictures, anything that you can show me, let me see what it was all like. And it was like, I was more focused on the cause that we went out for. Then luckily, the picture that went out, first of all, was the one with them holding up the signs. It was taken by an event photographer in the town. And it wasn't even the first picture that came up in the 10 pictures he posted on his own page.
Right.
But it was the first one that everybody used for their email updates of how the protest went.
Right.
So when they now saw it, his friend, Sean, the white boy, how are you? He now sent a picture of the three of them when they were babies to Kito and said, isn't this so amazing that the three of us as kids stood together today as men? And that touched Kito. And that was why he posted what he posted.
Wow. Go ahead, Mike.
Kito, do you think you made a difference? Do you think your protest made a difference?
Absolutely. Like, even just recently, the past week, I could see me getting the taxi. A lot of people have been trying to make conversation as opposed to people who just people just let you sit in a car and then take you to their destination. But people are trying to understand the whole cause. Locals are always waving at you, saying hi to you. So the immediate difference in Dundalk has been noticeable.
Have you been engaged with any government officials in Ireland so far? Have you spoken to any of maybe the councillors, the mayors so far on this? What has happened so far?
No, trust me, that's my next move. Because I said to them, since they see how much attention you've garnered just by sending out the text and being able to hold a protest like that, then you guys should form an organization where they consider you as very vital when they're trying to address the youth, black and white and everything, because it's not even going to be about color any longer. It's the fact that the youths have united in Dundalk and they stand for a force. And you know how it is in Nigeria when you're doing politics, the politicians always look for the youth leaders. Right. So I told them that this is a time for you people to come together so that they would always consult with you, find out what your issues are. And they have to address your issues if they want you to vote them. You're all above 18 now, so you can vote.
Fantastic.
You know?
Okay.
Fantastic. I'm happy the line you just brought it. So I want to ask you on this specific question. How has this protest, how has this thing you just felt led to do, this changed your plan and changed your view of the future? Do you intend to go into politics now? Are you seeing a vision of yourself being more organizer inclined?
I definitely don't want to go into politics. I want to know, the thing is, with this tweet, I've created a platform, a small platform that I wish to expand on, because my passion is entertainment and actually making people laugh, making people just entertained in general. Exactly like my mom. So essentially, essentially, I'm trying to just push out the platform, push out what I'm trying to do on the platform that I've created, and also the people in Dundalk are very talented. So I'm trying to push out a platform for them in which they can go, because I feel that everyone in Dundalk has the ability to change the world just individually. So if we can do it together, then it's going to create a very big impact.
Fantastic. I have to wrap up with you, but I can't. I'd like to wrap up with Laide, because I'd like to look at you.
Can I just ask him one question? Okay. How did your sister feel about this protest?
Toyin, at first, she was so proud. Her friends were sending her the messages. You know, they are on Snapchat. We adults don't do Snap. So, of course, all of them were talking about it on Snap. Everybody was claiming him as their younger brother. But it was such a thing of pride that our kid did that. Right. And then when it got to a point, Toyin now said, when you now start acting as if you don't let golden goose now, because God be celebrity.
Right. I have to let you go, but I have to ask this, because I see you as somebody who has worked with these children. And I'd like you to give a message. As a single mother, I want you to give a message to mothers out there who are doing this all by themselves. You know, I see you and I say, Abiamo Toto. She's a woman who has worked with her children. So I want you to speak to women who have nobody but this child that they are raising. Talk to them this moment, give them a message, because you've raised successful, amazing children. Your daughter is a makeup artist, she's doing well in England. So you're obviously proud. And women must hear that people like you exist. So tell us about your success story.
One thing I want people to always understand is that women or parents in general, because you could have single male, one family household where the parent is the guy. What I want you to understand is that we are just vessels through which these children come into the world. In the days that our parents were raising us, there was so much control in how they wanted us to turn out that it was almost as if they were living vicariously through us. In this generation now, there should be a certain level of communication and understanding that your job is actually to act as a guide and an intercessor. Because, I always talk about purpose. Once you can find somebody or mentor them enough, or spirit intervene and pray for them enough for them to discover what their God-given purpose is as a parent, your job is to pray, and guide.
Okay, I think we can end with that. Thank you very much.
Well done,
Kiton. Good job. We're proud of you. Your view team is proud of you all.
All right.
Take care.
All right, we have to go on a break now. See you after the break. Stay with us, don't go anywhere.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. So it's exactly 1 year since the 9th Assembly was inaugurated under the leadership of Ahmed Lawan and the President of the Senate, retired Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, as the head of the House of Representatives. Joining us now to discuss the 365 days of legislative duties at the lower chamber is the Deputy Leader of the House, Honorable Peter Akpatason. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, madam.
Yes, so thanks for having you representing the Akoko-Edo Federal Constituency, Edo State. Thanks for joining us this morning, sir.
My pleasure.
So congratulations, it's been 1 year. The 9th Assembly had been inaugurated. We've seen some of your work. And interestingly, in the papers today, we read about the public hearing for the NCDC bill, what happened with the row with the Governors Forum, I think NLC, and a few other parties. Tell us exactly why people are saying that, number one, this bill is draconian, and the fact that it seems the governors believe that it emasculates them from their own duties. Could you give us an understanding of, in celebration of your 1 year anniversary, tell us what this bill is about?
Well, basically, I think a lot of people who are objecting to the bill believe that there was no sufficient consultation with stakeholders, and as a result, the bill did not benefit from the input of such stakeholders, including the DG of NCDC. However, a close look at the intent and the purpose of the bill, clearly shows that it was conceived in an emergency situation to address what the initiator considered to be the lacuna and the gaps in the existing legislation with respect to the subject matter. And at that point in time, there was actually no sufficient time to begin to go around the country as we do in so many other cases. And at the end of the day, after the second reading, the House listened to the concerns of Nigerian people and decided to rescind the decision. And as a responsible House that is sensitive to the concerns of the citizens that we represent, the bill was committed to public hearing, which happened yesterday. And it was an opportunity for everybody and every group that feels that there are some areas that needed to be reviewed to come up and then present such areas. For the Governor Forum, I think they have objected to a whole lot of things, including the decision, some of the decisions of PTF and the president's authority to declare anything at all, including lockdown of Federal Capital Territory, Lagos, and part of Edo State, because they believe that that will be eroding their own authority in their areas of influence, which is their states. However, we don't believe that that is sufficient to lock down the bill, and that is why the public hearing of yesterday was carried out to give them the opportunity to make their presentations, which they duly presented and which are being considered by the House at the moment.
Right, very good.
Yeah, you say it was a public hearing. I read in the papers today that only 2 TV houses were allowed to go into this public hearing, and you say you are almost going to pass the bill, but I'm sure you know it's quite an unpopular bill from the governors to the people. Most people are complaining and saying it's a draconian bill. So, and you still want to go ahead with the bill?
Hello?
Hello.
I didn't hear the last speech.
You can answer, you can respond to the first part you heard.
TV stations.
Okay. The public hearing was open to everybody who is interested. Okay, still talking. Madam, I can barely hear you.
Go ahead.
Let me repeat myself.
Okay, please do.
You said it was a public hearing, but I read in the papers today that only 2 TV stations were allowed. Can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you a bit now.
Should I shout? I said there were only 2 TV stations allowed into the public hearing. So that could not have been a public hearing because journalists were barred from coming in. That was one. And 2, most people have complained that it's a draconian bill. Stakeholders have complained that it's a draconian bill, and you still want to go ahead with it. How come?
Okay, in the first place, what defines public hearing is not the number of media houses that are in there. Wow. As much as possible, the National Assembly has always opened its doors to every media house that is willing to come in. But I want to believe that if actually there was restriction to the number of media houses allowed in, it would have been because they want to comply with the guideline, COVID guideline. I want to believe that that is the situation.
Okay.
So actually, if you have 2 media houses in a public hearing, that does not reduce the inputs that the public can make.
Okay.
It does not also limit. Sorry?
Okay, point taken, sir.
Okay, so I wanted to ask you concerning the laws. I know that the core responsibility of the National Assembly is the representative, House of Representatives, to make laws. However, I don't want to just ask you how many laws have been passed, because we have enough laws. It's more about the oversight function. And there are many loopholes with enforcement of those laws. So my question to you will be that, based on your oversight on the laws and the agencies and the MDAs, what loopholes did you see, and what action did the legislature carry out to block those loopholes that must have occurred when you were doing your oversight?
Okay, this is Ninth Assembly, and they're just 1 year old. And within this space of 1 year, we have had close to 5-6 months of COVID-19 pandemic, which did not allow so much of oversight to be done.
Oh.
So, but the little that was done, yes, exactly. When we came in, the first thing that we did was to constitute the standing committees of the House. When you constitute committees, you populate those committees with a bunch of people that have come from different backgrounds. Most of them are actually newcomers. So the first thing that the committees will do is to set the agenda, come out with a program and strategy that they will use for 4 years. That would take some 2-3 months. And then just as they were starting activities, COVID-19 started, and then they had to hold back.
Wow.
So for now, they have not done much of overtime, to be honest.
So, sir, what are we celebrating this 1 year? What are we celebrating in this 1 year?
Sorry?
So what are we celebrating in this 1 year? What's the landmark with this 1 year?
Basically, I would like to start with the way we came in. We had an election that was very popular, very free and fair, that sets examples for the world, including states like Edo State and Bauchi, on how to inaugurate an assembly and how the assembly should conduct themselves and constitute the executive without interference, even though parties might show interest at the level of their caucuses. We had an election that brought in the presiding officers, Mr. Speaker and his deputy, Peter Gbajabiamila and Ahmed as one so popular election that produced an overwhelming majority that has never happened before. And immediately we came on board. The Speaker, on behalf of the leadership and members of the House, made it very clear that we are in for an inclusive dispensation, and came up with the mantra of nation building as a joint task. All interests were brought on board in constituting the leadership as well as the leadership of the committees. And immediately we swung into action. We were confronted with a situation where we had to very quickly come up with the most important bill for that period, which is the budget, the 2020 Appropriation Act, which, however, has been reviewed and represented recently, and we have speedily taken action on that.
Right.
I'm surprised you said that the coronavirus, COVID-19,
5-6 months.
Is what disturbed you, because you actually agreed or passed a bill for 30 billion for your renovation of your house. I would have thought that the COVID was more important and all funds should go into that than to the renovation of the house. How did that happen?
National Assembly.
Madam, I am not sure that you are correct when you said that we passed a bill for 30 billion renovation of the house. I think we should be honest in our dealing with the arms of government, including the legislative arm of government. The 36 billion, not 30, was a provision made in Federal Capital Territory budget for the renovation of a property in Federal Capital Territory, which is called National Assembly Complex. It is not the property of the legislators who are here. It is the property of FCT. It was built by FCT, and they have a responsibility to renovate. The funds allocated in the budget is not one that has been utilized. But in any case, it has been reduced to just 9 billion.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
Well, part of the celebrations for the 1-year anniversary, obviously, is possibly the receipt of your cars. You ordered brand new cars, I believe, for every member of the House. Is that correct?
I actually thought that you were going to give me the opportunity to talk about some of the things that we have achieved. Now that it appears that...
Please do.
Hold on, no problem. I'm cool with this. Now that it appears that the press are more interested in car issue and renovation of the National Assembly. Let's talk about this car thing.
Okay.
I worked in the I worked in the private sector, one of the best companies in this country, for 20 years before coming to National Assembly. The policy, both in the private and public sector, is to use cars, official cars, for 4 years, and they are budgeted. And that is the practice in National Assembly. It is the practice in the judiciary. It is the practice in the executive arm of government. It's somewhat laughable for people to keep harping on the cars, that are used in National Assembly, as if that is the biggest problem that we have in this country. However, it is untrue that we have bought the number of cars that people are saying that we have bought. I remember Punch saying the other time, before we proceeded on break, that we have taken delivery of exotic cars and they were being distributed at the time. That is very far from the truth. In any case, National Assembly, like every other group, do purchase cars, and the cars will be purchased and they will be utilized for the purpose for which they are designated.
Okay, let me give you the last few minutes.
We have not taken delivery of 400 cars as it's been speculated.
Okay, point taken. I'm happy you've cleared that up. But do tell us what your achievements are, because I asked that earlier, that what are we celebrating 1-year anniversary? So we thought that, you then told us the issues of election, the fact that COVID was a deterrent to some of the activities of the Assembly. So please, for the next few minutes, tell us your achievements in the last 1 year, what we are celebrating today, so that we know and celebrate with you.
Or are we not celebrating?
Well, we are marking 1 year, and I'm not seeing any party anywhere where we are celebrating, actually. We are not in celebration mode in the country today, but it is proper for us to just mark it as we are doing. Like I told you, we have been able to realign the budget.
Oh, we need to hear him. I think we have a connection issue. Because I would really like to speak to, because, obviously he has some things he would like to share with us as the celebration.
Like the budget.
Okay,
let's talk about the budget.
That was done, and properly we have also attended to it. Now we have attended to well over 840, bills within this space.
Oh, man, network is messing things up. Well, yeah,
at the right time.
At the right time, honestly. Unfortunately, I have to wrap up on that. But thank you so much, Honorable Peter Akpatason, for joining us this morning. He is the member representing Akoko-Edo Federal Constituency. We have to disconnect it at this point. Let's go on a break. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. So we've been discussing the issue of rape for a while now, and we're trying to enlighten us actually more on preferring solutions to rape issues is a behavioral change and psychotherapist, Ehiz Odige Okpatako. She's supposed to be joining us, but we're having a bit of technical issues because I'm pretty interested in speaking to a trained therapist on this, because we know quite a lot of victims. One of the first things they need is some type of therapy, some kind of counseling to help them get through the trauma of the experience. Aside from the medical part of it, they need somebody to talk to, and I'm happy that Ohiz will be joining us, but we're having a bit of technical issues. But Waike, in your view, do you think we've been able to help enough rape victims so far in this country after the experience?
I really don't think so. I don't think so, because, I was reading the papers today, that story about the 15-year-old girl that got let off. I'm not sure that the parents had to pay for her to see, they had to the government had to pay for her lawyer.
Right.
So if the government is paying for her lawyer, are they going to pay for her psychologist, for her to have psychotherapy as well? You know, there is that. And then in that same story, there were like 3 or 4 victims, different victims. And I'm wondering, are these people getting...
Yeah.
You know,
because from the show we did this week about the woman,
Tuesday,
the mother, even till now, is still torn from that experience because she blamed the child and she hasn't found closure because the man hasn't come to either apologize or beg for forgiveness, that kind of thing. So it's a long time scar.
So even if we talk about the story of this 15-year-old girl, she was abused, then she murdered someone, then she was imprisoned. This entire 3 experience is enough trauma that she needs to have a lot of therapy on. Then our parents also need psychotherapists. They need help because they also have the feeling of, my child, what did I do wrong? So there are many parties to the rape that need help. The victim and even the perpetrator of the rape also needs help. Okay, I'm told now that our guest is on. She's a psychotherapist. He's Odige Okpataku. Good morning. Are you there, madam?
Good morning.
Good to have you on the show. We've been trying to reach you for a while. So,
I think it's the network.
Yeah, we've been talking about rape for the past couple of weeks now. Yes. And it's important that we bring in experts who can help victims that have undergone this experience, especially those who are just coming out. It's not today that it happened months, years ago, and they're just getting the energy, the ability, the unction to say something today. Where do we start from with healing of these people?
Now, if you were to bring it from the angle of the victim, for some of them, they are right now living in denial. We have people that if you were to run an investigation and find out truly that they were raped, and even if the rapist even agreed to the fact that they actually committed that crime, some of the victims are in denial because mentally confronting the truth of it will be too traumatic for them to deal with, and their mental well-being will be shattered. So if we want to talk about the issue of rape and how the victim can overcome the trauma and other negative side effects, repercussions of that act, I think we need to first of all start with the fact that, yes, acknowledging that it actually happened. When people talk about the fact that it took years for a victim to actually say or explain or show that they were raped, it is simply because of the fact that there is what you call a mental block. If they had confronted that reality immediately, it may have made them to go off the man on the street will say, the deep end. A lot of them, the rape victims, are having to deal with depression, different levels of PTSD, what you call post-traumatic stress disorder. Some of them have acquired eating disorders along the way. Some of them are having flashbacks, nightmares, insomnia. So it takes a while for them to be able to confront that reality, acknowledge it actually happened to them, confront all the negative emotions and the side effects that came with it, and then also confront the reality that even though our society is quite judgmental and victim shames, the person decides to go against that, come forward, tell the public or let people around them know this is what happened, and then take it from there.
Right.
So obviously we are not doing enough for survivors of rape.
We are not doing anything for them.
And I understand that we don't have enough psychotherapists. I know we have a lot of coaches and the numbers have increased, but we don't have enough to go around the number of victims or survivors that are available that have gone through rape. So so that we give value to people that are watching this show that have had this experience, because many of them are reaching out to us, what would be the thing that you would say an individual who's experienced rape can do personally to begin to purge through that emotion and the baggage and the trauma?
For your own sanity as a victim listening to this, even if it happened 50 years ago or it happened yesterday, even if it was just sexual assault and there wasn't actually any penetration, you went through something traumatic, and it's okay. You do not need to be ashamed. It is the rapist or the person that's committed the assault that should be ashamed, not you. You have nothing to be ashamed of. You are a strong woman or man. You will overcome this. Others will learn from your experience and will become better for it. Speak out. Seek out for somebody who has the professional experience, or even just as a woman listening ear that you can talk to, and let them walk with you through this. Also try to understand that it's not the end of the world. You will get better. Take it one day at a time. Understand that no matter what happens, there are people out there that care. And sooner or later, even if the rapist is never seen again, or even if you never get the level of justice, because we have some people who the rapist is even dead, just understand that you can also get your own closure as a person. You are strong. Take it one day at a time, and you'll get better.
Now, talking about closure, I mean, as a psychotherapist, what are the options of closure you recommend? Because we spoke to somebody this week who was, she's a product of rape. So her mother was raped. And her mother all her life resented her. You know, she blamed her for everything that she went, all the negative ills in her life. She blamed that woman for it. And even till now, her mother is a grandmother to her own children, but doesn't play that role well because there's still that dark cloud within their relationship. So for her, closure would mean the rapist, who is still alive and well, is for him to go to her mother and beg for forgiveness. So at least her mother, that burden is lifted up by her mother, so her mother can be who she can be, and even at an old age. Do you think that's closure, or do you think...
Now, you see, the truth is this. She has to deal with the fact that her father may never, ever accept her. Her mother is dealing with her own personal issues, and it's not her own fault. Because we have a lot of guilt, we have a lot of shame, we have a lot of fear with these sorts of things. She, the product of the rape, should understand that on her own part, she should just try to be a better mother to her own children and deal with her own issues. Because the truth is this, till her mother dies, she may keep struggling with everything that went along with it. And every time she sees her, her mother looks at her as this is the result, or this is the product, or this is the result of what happened. There's a case I'm going to talk about right now. There was this young lady that was arrested in Lagos, and it was said that she drowned her 1 year plus daughter in a bucket of water. Now, you see, the truth is this. That lady already, from what her sister said, indicated something very important, that their family had a history of mental illness, because it was noticed that her mother also had some issues too while she was alive. Now, if you look at all those factors, every time she saw that little girl, she was reminded of that traumatic event. When you put everything together, that little girl, if she had been alive now and grown up to be an adult, she needs to make peace with herself. She needs to understand that it was that other person that did wrong, that violated her space. And even if the person never apologizes till they die, it is fine, it is okay to seek healing and closure in the right places. We have too many victims that have gone into narcotics, have gone into alcohol, self-destructive behavior, gone into all sorts of things to just deal with or try to cover up or try to solve the pain that they are going through. So if she can get to meet a therapist and have a couple of sessions and probably even go through what you call prolonged exposure therapy, amongst other things, it will help her go a long way in getting the closure she requires for herself. Because in Africa here, our assumption of what you call closure is the person comes in and kneels down and begs you and calls other people and cries and kata is coming from the nose and the person is promising to be your friend forever. You might not get that. You might actually get to have a situation where the rapist is a family member, and every time you see the person in close quarters or a boss, what do? Do you keep getting hot and resentful every time you see the person, or you become hostile, you become aggressive? And that's why I will call on government. I see no reason why we do not have a 24-hour helpline nationwide with different languages, a full body, an agency that has to do with mental health. All over the world.
A voluntary thing.
Right. What is prolonged exposure?
Basically, it's different ways. You have a situation where the person sits down and you talk, and the person can visualize and take themselves back to the incident. For a lot of people, their mental blocking ensures that they don't have to deal with the trauma of it because it's too painful to remember. But if continuously you're able to go through that, you're able to talk yourself through the incident, over time, it starts to lose the power to hurt anymore. And then you can talk about it easily, you can walk through it easily, and it has lost its power to hurt so much anymore, recounting or remembering that incident or incidences.
So you're saying it helps to talk about it. It's a good thing to talk about it over and over again. We see
in therapy sessions,
okay.
in that surrounding, do you understand? You are guided.
So
you understand? Then you are going to feel comfortable recounting it. Do you understand? Because it is not just only about talking. We have people that have talked about it to the wrong people, and they've been silenced. They've been told, "Are you the first person it has happened to?" Or have you? Or it also happened to me too. And then the person it now becomes like a competition. People comparing injuries, and the person does not get any help or any support from there.
Okay, how about support groups? Because really, the government has a lot on their hands. We can't really expect the government to take up the case of rapes and all of that. They would, maybe there'll be laws, but how about support groups? We see in movies where they would have, like, every region would have a group, maybe on social media, a group where people can have maybe one therapist talking to hundreds of people, sharing their mind, listening and offering comfort to one another. Is that not a possible, easier solution to provide for these people coming out now?
You see, the truth is this. We are in Nigeria. A lot of people do not even understand the concept of mental health. For a lot of people, they are just assumed that mental health is, hey, the person don't be mad and the person is naked on the road. They do not understand that we have things like postnatal depression, or people going through anxiety, having anxiety or panic attacks, or people going through PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and the fact that it has different levels. Nigerians are still struggling with the concept of developmental challenges. Within the concept of what you call rape, there's what you call statutory rape, you have sexual assault. There was this situation of these young boys that was, the case was recounted, and a neighbor was found to have assaulted those boys. He didn't do it anally, but he did it orally, and he also did some other sexually explicit things with their ears. Ew. People do not understand that this thing called rape is so wide. Sexual molestation is so wide. So if government has to take the lead on this, because if the Ministry of Health, we have so many agencies under government, there is no reason why there isn't an agency to deal with this. And it will have to now drive governments at different levels, from both the local to the states to the federal, where all these centers and infrastructure and awareness is created, because health education is important, health communication is key and vital. If Nigerians understand the importance of these things, if they are aware that it exists, and they understand that there is help for it, then they can seek for it. It's just like if somebody has malaria, and the person can have the understanding that that health center is there for me to walk into, and I can get help. If the same means is provided in all the 774 local governments, and then a helpline.
We have to run.
You are talking about a helpline. Yes, I agree. But the Ministry of Health that you are talking about, they don't even have enough hands to treat malaria or typhoid
or COVID.
So when
we
they add this one, they will just explode or implode.
A lot of NGOs are doing a lot, but
unfortunately, I think we have to wrap up on this. Thank you so much. We'll be speaking with a behavioral change and psychotherapist, Ehis Odige Akpatason. Well, we have to continue the conversation on rape. We're not going to stop.
But today, at least they can talk about it.
Well, at least I'm happy that one thing I learned from Ehis is that if you keep putting yourself back at that situation, take you as a person, as a victim, go back to that situation, replay it in your mind, talk about it with a therapist. It helps you. It doesn't make it potent anymore to hurt you because you've relived it. That's that prolonged exposure she talked about. I think it's something that is really, really good tool to use. Have a fabulous day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.